Okay. Um, I think the easiest answer is yes, but I think it's also yes and no. I don't think there's a consistent every single day, every moment of the day I trust myself.
Mhm.
But I do think overall I tend to trust myself and trust my instincts, but I haven't always. So I think that's also something that it took me a long time to kind of get to the place of learning how to trust myself. And even learning, I think it's also somewhat easier to trust yourself than trust others because you know what you're thinking, you know what you're feeling. Um, as opposed to trusting others, it's kind of hard. Like I have to kind of believe what you're saying to me, which I may or may not. So in that regard, I think it's easier for me to trust myself and it's easier for me to be honest with myself. So that's kind of also a little harder where, again, with someone else, I have to just believe that they're being honest with me. Um, she's asking, do you trust yourself?
Okay, my turn.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm. My first answer will be no, just because that I keep feeling my feelings and thoughts and viewpoints shifting so much over the last 3 years, which I like. I like the adaptation to it. So it's hard for me to say I trust any version because I keep growing, I guess.
Changing. Yeah, that makes sense.
That does make sense. So I think I'm in the middle of. I appreciate that transparency. I agree. I do think that it depends, and it can be a difficult question to answer.
Ooh, that's a good question. Realization is the key word in a way because I feel like I didn't realize I trusted myself until a lot later in life, maybe even the last 3 to 5 years. But I do think on some level I did trust myself. And it's weird because, like you said, we have similar backgrounds. I did not in my primary home grow up feeling safe. But I think that's a
Yeah.
part of what developed my trust of self because I felt like I was the most competent in most places I went. I had to take care of myself. I had to kind of do sort of a lot of those things. So it kind of made me feel like, uh, who else can I trust? Definitely not what's around me. Definitely not my family necessarily. So it had to be me in that sense. But I didn't, like you said, I didn't realize it. But I think as I went into psychology, went into therapy, understanding even the human psyche, you could kind of see, like what you said, our actions sort of show that we trust ourselves. Because when it comes time to making decisions, it's usually me and God, because that's all I ever had. So it's sort of
Hmm.
like that is the place that I feel um, most safe, most secure, because it's never been environmental. So for me, it had to be something beyond the environment, beyond even other people, because it never came from that. So I think it sort of became creating that sense within myself because I never felt like I would feel that environmentally. I would never feel that from others, and I can't control others. I kind of realized early on, even with my family, these are people who are doing the best they can. I see good and bad in them, which makes me feel like this is always going to be the case. So you
You
kind of
realize
have
that young?
to, yeah, I remember, I don't know, maybe middle school, high school, having conversations about how I see certain behaviors in them, how they kind of judge each other or point out in each other what's going on, what's wrong, but there was never any self reflection. And that was something I definitely didn't want. But I also spent most of my childhood reading books and specifically the Bible, even. So, like, that was where my sense of self came from and my sense of comfort. So, it was sort of recognizing, like, this is something I kind of had to always find from myself because my home didn't feel safe. I lived with the person who abused me. So, bathing didn't feel safe, sleeping didn't feel safe. So it wasn't going to be necessarily environmental or from these other factors. So it kind of had to come from within. And I think I just spent so much time meditating on certain things to kind of help me to see the idea of seeing beyond the circumstances, I guess. And I think that comes into the point where you were saying, when did I recognize it? I think that's how therapy helped me to realize it because um, it was almost like, you know how you say hindsight's 2020? You kind of
Yeah.
look back at things and realize you've always taken care of yourself. You've always been able to handle these things. If I could do that as 10 and 15 and 20 2019 or whatever, I'm not going to do everything perfect, but I did pretty good. So it's sort of like that's sort of where my trust kind of got built in conjunction with sort of the idea of um, it's not going to always feel good, but you've been able to get through so many tragedies. And I think that kind of helped to kind of build that. Go ahead.
So my question, right? Because I feel that, right? I think for me, to your point, I resonate with that. It's in hindsight, looking back,
Yeah.
that adds to the trust in myself going forward. That I'm gonna be all right, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you were that age, though, when you were 19, what was the drive? What was it driving your decision making at that time? Was it trust? Was it survival? Was it
Faith.
like what was it driving those decisions then?
Faith. So I grew up in a very
Okay.
Christian. My father's a minister. My uncle's pastors. I have a long line of pastors in my family. So Proverbs 3 was literally my favorite verse since I can remember. I meditated on that every day. And I had an emotional experience, I would journal or write poetry, and I would read the Bible. And so for me, that verse was sort of like a faith-based concept where, like, yeah, you see this is crazy and chaotic, but you're trusting and believing in something different, something beyond that, something that there's a purpose and a plan. And I think that's why the therapy helped the recognition of it, because it kind of reminded me, like, this is the reason. Literally,
Right.
you can see how everything you experienced is now helping your clients, helping you to connect, helping you to reach, and helping me to be a different mother. So it kind of put the pieces together to kind of see, like, in the moment, I'm questioning, why is this happening? But when you recognize and see, like, oh, it all had a purpose, that helps you to kind of have trust too, because it's like, I might not see it in the moment, but it always ends up revealing itself in the long run. And so that kind of puts it all together where you start to realize, like, it always works out. You don't know how, but it does. And so it kind of creates that sense of trust and peace that I don't know everything, but I know it'll work out one way or another.
I think that's important. Yeah.
But I definitely think that came in. Go ahead. No, I was just saying schooling for me was a big part, because I did go to AP psychology in high school too. So when you were saying, like, earlier on, I think that was a part of it too. Yeah.
What's the question?
When did you recognize that you trusted yourself?
Yeah, I never really thought about trust that much growing up, to be honest. Like, it wasn't really till older, maybe about marriage or something, but I never, I don't think I learned enough about fear and pain when I was young enough to develop the value that's in trust. Because I think, at least from what I've witnessed, then it seems like trust is the salve for fear. Like, trust comes up when we're scared. That's when trust gains its most value to us, like, as humans. So I think in relationship, even with ourselves, or a relationship with a romantic partner or a friend, the more scared we are of hurts from the past or right now, that's when we really, like, trust. Do I trust you? Do you trust me? Like, are you gonna hurt me? Basically, is the question around trust. So as a kid, I wasn't really thinking about that, and then there wasn't even a thought not to trust myself. Like, it wouldn't even occur to me, why wouldn't I? It was just so seamless in my line of thinking that it was a little bit binary on the side of not challenging myself, to be honest. So yeah, I think I trusted myself. I more had to learn to stop trusting myself. Like, that was more my journey. I was so trusting and concrete on whatever I thought and felt that I was kind of unwavering and unmanageable. So my journey has been to let go of things I'm adamant about, or things that, in particular about trusting myself, letting go of the times when I feel super trustworthy about myself. It's more valuable in my exercise.
What you were saying about the differences in our experiences, because he did come from a more secure family background. So I think that provided where his family trusted him. So that kind of developed even early on a sense of trust in himself, whereas opposed to us, it didn't come from our family and our caregivers. So we had to develop that on our own through different avenues.
Okay. I like that.
So to your point, my question was going to be what do you think, in hindsight, what do you think your parents did or your caregivers did or didn't do that built that self-trust, that allowed you to go through life being able to trust yourself?
One of the main ones popped up in here earlier today. I don't know if she's still in here, but HK Joins is a huge reason. She popped up. I think my parents for the most part, you know, they man, I felt the whole childhood that I can remember. I felt like everything, damn, how can I put it, man? It wasn't no dominance in my house from my parents. Like, never was I, you know, shut up because I said so, you ain't going, get this up, you know, that domineering kind of,
authoritarian.
Yeah, whereas what I said, because I said, I don't care what you think. Like, anytime I had a thought about something, I expressed that thing. Every time.
Yeah, I love that.
They let that happen. You know, they
and challenge them. You were able to challenge them.
Absolutely.
That's different.
Absolutely. And nobody was the dictator. Like, it wasn't like I was running them, of course, but nor they me. So it was just kind of love back and forth. You know, my dad is like 5'7", like a $125 soaking wet. So since I was about 6th grade, if I wanted to, we was more equals as far as physical. But never did it cross my mind to go at him because he didn't come at me like that. So that's what I learned about trust and authority. Everybody just kind of let me be, which I think, you know, like these new age parenting books be talking about it. Like, if you let your kid have a little space to move around and bump around and make mistakes and talk back and correct and some boundaries and some not boundaries, that the human grows up, you know, kind of, I don't know, not scared.
Right. The capacity to make decisions for themselves and trust in that decision, or trust that like all will work out, right?
Yeah.
So that's I love that you actually have that perspective, because I think that's a good contrast to Sherry and I's upbringing, right, and our experience.
Yeah, fucking right, man. And I hate that shit too. Like, to be honest, now I'm venting a little bit, but I hate that disparity so much. I hate that. It's real though, right? It's so real, but it just bothers me so bad. But so anyway, move on, because I just had to get that off my chest.
To your point, this kind of, so one of the things that I said on our last live, again, if you guys are joining and you want to add into the discussion, please request to join our live if you want to add into the discussion, or drop your thoughts or perspectives in the comments. One of the things that I thought about, right? Why do I hate labels so much? Or if you know me, right, I do not like to label things right or wrong, right? And I also don't like to make people, I have learned that I don't like to make people feel, I like to separate what people do from who they are, right?
You're saying all that shit.
So my question, which I think your parents which you kind of alluded to, which your parents did, is the difference in a behavior, what you do, right, being right or wrong, versus who you are being wrong. Growing up, or even now, right? Even, I mean, because we do, not maybe we, but in adulthood it happens where, right? For example, if my son makes a decision to, let's say, what could he do? My son makes a decision to steal a candy bar from a store, right? My response to him is, You're a thief. I've identified who he is, right?
Yeah.
You're a thief. Why would you do that? That's stupid, right? I'm
Yeah.
That's stupid.
It's
That doesn't
wrong.
make sense. You weren't
Yeah.
thinking. That's wrong. Um, like, right? I'm identifying. I'm tying his behavior to his identity, right? And then I
Yeah.
am then constantly projecting my
Judging him.
idea of right, right, versus saying I get this is a something that people need to learn, right? But versus saying, wow, son, what made you do that? Why would you
Yeah.
steal? What made you feel like you needed to do that? Do you feel like that was the right choice for you to do in that moment? Why do you feel like that was the right or wrong choice for you to do in that moment? You know, you know, you're not
What are you
necessarily,
feeling?
what you did doesn't necessarily make you a bad person, right? But this is how your choices impacted, right? This is how the impact of your choices, right, that you made.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Travis, to your point, I think that your parents probably did a really good job of that.
Mm.
Not allowing you to be who you were, and not tying your decisions and your choices into your identity, and making you feel like what you did was wrong, or who you were wrong.
Yeah.
I'll pause there and let y'all comment on that.
You go.
I completely agree. I think like we blow it out of proportion on some level because every adult also has done something stupid at some point, right? We have expectation of the child that they're not going to make any mistakes. We as adults make mistakes. That's not even a realistic perspective. And I think, like you said, some of that projection comes from how we identify with the situation, not even just the kid. What are people going to think of me? Are they thinking I'm a bad parent? Are they judging me? How does everyone in the store feel about my son stealing? And all of those get projected to the child. But if you can't manage those emotions and those thoughts, could the child? They can't. Adults can't, like you said. Adults are still learning to do. So of course, children are learning to do them. And I think that becomes part of the equation. Even the part of the concept of trust is our expectations are realistic. Do we have an understanding of ourselves, of each other, as far as like kind of what we're expecting of each other? Because that is part of, you said, the trust. The child has an expectation of the parent has an expectation of the child. Are those expectations realistic? Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. That makes us feel like we can't depend on each other. I think it goes to even what we were saying earlier. I think my parents, the thing they did well was developing my faith, because even the Bible says you can't trust people. And that's something I saw early on. People are fickle. Like you said, it's not their necessary. People are
Hold on.
fickle. Go ahead.
No, hold on, back up. You said the Bible says what?
Not to trust man.
Oh, okay.
Put your faith and trust in God and not to trust man. And I think with my experiences early on, I think that was something that always set with me. You can't trust people. Not because people are always horrible people, but because, like you said, they're learning, they're developing. I could literally see with my parents, they were trying. I saw that they did good things with people or others, or tried to do good things in life. Doesn't mean that every decision or choice they made was going to be good. So it wasn't, like you said, necessarily a holistic perspective, like you are good or you're not, or you're bad. You sometimes make good choices. Sometimes you made bad choices. Sometimes you were this loving parent. Sometimes you were this super critical parent. Sometimes you were that. So it let me know no one is all or nothing. We're not going to always be good. We're not going to always be bad. Same as me for a kid. We make mistakes. We do things we don't want to do. I think it helped me to realize people are trying the best they can. Doesn't mean it's going to result the way they want, or to result the way I want either. So my trust can't be in a person. Their behaviors are going to change from based on how they feel, based on what they're experiencing, what they're going through. You may be grieving. You're not going to respond the same way as when things are going well in life. When people are in crisis, they don't act and respond the same way when they're not in crisis. And so in that sense, I feel like the only person you can fully always trust is God. We can't even trust ourselves 100% because, like you said, we don't always even adhere to our own morals and values.
Okay. So what are we trusting for though, right? Like, we have the ability to define trust, right?
Yeah.
We have the ability to find what we're trusting ourselves with, what we're trusting another being with, what we're trusting God with, and the universe and life. So I think that I think when we think about so one of the things that I heard, I used to listen to Joyce Meyer years ago, right? Heavy. And one of the things she said to me, which, not said to me, she wasn't talking to me. She was talking to the people that I was listening. One of the things she said was, do you have the choice whether you want to wake up and believe whether somebody is out to get you. You have the choice whether you want to wake up and believe that what people do to you, they intended to do to you. You have a choice whether you wanted to believe that everybody's out to harm you, right? That's a choice. And when she said that, at where I was at in my life at the time, it resonated with me because I was like, so I have the choice. So it's not fact. It's my perspective, right? It's not fact that everybody's out to get me.
Exactly.
Right? It was eye opening.
That's a perspective. Yeah. It feels like that, but it ain't fact. Yeah.
Right. I was like, so.
Oh, so it was true. It was true to you before. It wasn't even a question. It was true that people were out to get you.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Strangers.
Based off
like strangers.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Everyone.
Based off. But that was. But that was based off, which I wouldn't necessarily identify it at the time, right? But what I know to be true now is that was based off of past experiences. That was based on the fact that I didn't, hold up, we want to get deep with it. It was based off the fact that I didn't trust myself, right? To consciously choose who I was trusting versus reacting off of old trauma and wounds, right?
All right.
So I was still in survival mode. And being still in survival mode, I'm just in reactionary mode, right? And me being in reactionary mode, I'm like, everybody's out to get me, they're gonna harm me, I can't trust people, they intended to do what they did, all of that, right? Not knowing that I had the ability, well, I hadn't yet really developed the ability, if I'm honest, to consciously choose who I was trusting and what I was trusting them for or with, because it matters.
Yeah, I agree. I think
matters,
the only thing, it definitely matters. I think, like what you said, a part of it is also recognizing just by development we couldn't, right? Like you said, 0 to 15, I have to trust someone else because I'm not capable of surviving on my own, right? And for those of us from 0 to 15 who experience trauma, the logical reaction is not to trust. That's logical. That's not, like, we identified in society as trust issues, but is it trust issues? If 10 people were not trustworthy, the 11th person, am I going to trust them? That would kind of be crazy. Because like you said, all my experiences have said this. So I needed a different experience in order to develop that trust a little bit, right? And that's what people necessarily realize. If all the people around me were untrustworthy, of course I don't trust people because everything I saw was untrustworthy. But as I move beyond just my family or just my community or just my personal experiences, I can develop new experiences that create that sort of spark and that hope. And that's where, like, recognition, like what you were saying, we don't control when we are aware. We don't get to control when we become, like you said, somebody said brought your awareness to, oh, I have a choice. Well, you didn't before because you didn't know you had a choice. Now you have a choice.
Yeah.
Now that you're aware,
Yeah.
now you can make a choice, and now you have sort of a responsibility. But before then, it's like telling a kid that they have choices when they're not even aware of their choices. How could they have, like,
Right,
you're
right. And I
dependent.
think
And
that's
so
Or
in
part of
that
or
sense,
I think
yeah.
I think I think that's part of the reason why we're having these conversations, right? Because I would want somebody to recognize that they have that choice and bring awareness to them far earlier than I ever learned it, because I was well into
yeah,
my late 20s before I ever realized this, right? And I agree. I'm not responsible, nor do I have control over what happened to me when I was still a child. But at some point, the switch flips,
click.
and
Yeah,
I was responsible for myself, my heart, my emotions, my life after that,
agree.
right? What I was going to do with all of that. Um, and
I I think it's just
thankfully I
hard
learned
because
it.
you were seeking some sort of knowledge because you were looking at Joyce Myers. I think the challenge is, and the only reason I bring to the point of awareness, not everyone's seeking knowledge or healing or growth or awareness. And so they may be trapped in that position. Like you said, they don't know they necessarily have a choice, which is even the reason we're having these conversations, because once your awareness comes, like you said, now you can make a change. But sometimes that comes from, like, I'm just in pain, seeking help, seeking knowledge, seeking, like, what is going on with me, which is, to me, the purpose of challenges or crisis or pain in your life. It pushes you to that awareness. What's happening? What's going on? I'm tired of this. I need to kind of figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
You start to ask those questions that brings your awareness and kind of helps you to get to that point, like you're saying, where you can sort of realize there's different options available to you. But I agree with you, like, it starts with us. But even in that sense, trying to teach kids, I think that's where understanding is important, because we have kids, you have kids, like, we're aware now, so we're trying to do it differently with our children. Does that mean they get it now at 15? No. Because some things they have to mature into the state of being able to process with their brains. Like, kids, just even developmentally, they can't understand everything. So even as much as we try to rush their development or give them all this knowledge that we have, they're not going to be able to understand it all at their age. Like, some stuff they're just going to have to live through and experience. And that's where, like you said, that grace comes in to let them do them, because they're going to still make those mistakes. Like, same as us, some things you have to learn by living through it.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. Um, so fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about us in adulthood, right? Because what is true is we are all adults. Everybody's on this live now. We're adults, right? Um, we're still out here operating in lack of trust of self, lack of trust of other people, based off of old traumas and wounds, lack of trust in life in general, right? Um, so I was having a conversation. I was having a conversation with my girlfriend earlier. This is something I wholeheartedly agree. This is my truth. My truth is, and I'm not talking about childhood trauma. I'm talking about in adulthood, being aware that you are in control of your choices, right? We betray ourselves far before someone else betrays us. That is something that I wholeheartedly believe in. And I believe that to be true because I'm not talking about whether we realize that we are betraying ourselves, right? When we're actually doing it. But I say that because I believe that most of us, most of us come when we're adults, right? We're talking about now. You have to learn, or maybe the opposite is true, that you have to bring it down some. But a lot of people have to learn that they can trust themselves, right? They can.
Yeah.
They are in control of their life. That they are making a decision, whether they're actively making a decision or not making a decision, right? And your life is driven off the choices you make. So when I say that we're often betraying ourselves far before someone else is betraying us, I mean that in that we are not consciously choosing, or we're consciously ignoring, and we put ourselves into situations where we allow ourselves to be hurt or betrayed because we didn't stick to a core value. We didn't listen to a red flag. We didn't walk away when we first got that feeling in the pit of our stomach. So that's what I mean by that when I say that. What do you guys think about that? Travis, you go.
Shit. Betray. This is based around this betrayal, right? Let me try to get into my space. I never been betrayed. You feel what I'm saying? But I'm trying to imagine. I don't think so, man. Because what I'm saying is, because I don't think that feels like such an entitled. I'm back to entitled. Betrayed feels so entitled. You know what I mean? Because betrayed means like another person's actions, right? Another human being separate from you, their own issues, life, experience, trauma, pain, thoughts, emotion, separate from you. But when they do an action, you're claiming some sort of right over it, meaning because that action you committed lies within my mind's programming, my conditioning, my hurts and my pains, because you triggered me, I have a new label for that action you just did. That's crazy to me. I'm just being honest. I understand somebody does something, you didn't want them to do that. You didn't want them to say that, go there, do that. So now you're hurt. That's true. Hurt is always real. The person can tell you because they're the expert. But the idea that I could take it from hurt, which is my own thing, my own personal experience, and then export that product out to another person and tell them, hey, you know, you betrayed me, right? Like, to me, that's extra as a motherfucker.
So, well, it goes back to what you said. It's a different experience. Go ahead.
You and Sherry are married, right?
Yes.
You guys are in covenant with y'all. Y'all have an agreement, right? Covenant means agreement. So y'all are in agreement of certain things. If Sherry cheated on you, right?
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a sense of betrayal. You wouldn't feel a sense of betrayal.
So I'll be honest with you. If you had asked me this maybe like a couple years ago, 3 years ago, I would have said yes, because I never unpacked my emotions before. So before, betrayal means extra pissed off and hurt. So that's how I feel. So yes, she did it. But now what I'm saying is, where I sit here now today is, number one, the agreement is bullshit. The covenant is bullshit. And these things are made up. Like, if I love her, right, and she cheats, cheat is bullshit. That was the pinky I was looking for, by the way. I got these first two. I needed that pinky. To me, cheating, this is just me. Like, people can obviously disagree. This is not a popular opinion or whatever. But for me, cheating means, again, I have ownership over your behavior. For me, the love that I have for her means cheating is not a real thing. Because for me, this is my partner. You know what I mean? This is my homie. This is my sister as much as it's my wife. I know that sounds creepy, but like, for me, the love it goes beyond these little words and agreements and covenants. So if she goes out for whatever reason, whether it was she was drunk and this dude was saying nice things and that looked like the move for the moment, she comes back to me on some, hey, look, I got carried away. This is how it went down. And I love her. What's my reaction? Oh, betrayal. Oh, you fucking, what about the agreement? Like, that's me protecting me if I'm putting those words out there to her. But if I love her, my words in that moment is like what, how did the experience go? Like, now, I'm not saying I'm not going to be hurt. I'm not saying I'm not going to be jealous. I'm not saying I'm not going to feel betrayed or whatever these words are. But like you were saying before, once you have the feeling, you have a choice. Like, once you have the feeling, what was the thing you had the choice about before? What was Joyce Myers gave you a choice about what? Oh,
whether you have a choice whether you want to believe whether someone is out to get you. You have a choice whether you want to believe whether someone.
Dang, that's what I'm saying. So I have the choice to believe whether my wife if she is horny and wanted penis penetration outside the house, now I'm supposed to come and say, I have a choice. Joyce Meyer said I can call that cheating and tear up my own house that I paid for, or I can say, hold on, there's a person I love next to me. She had an experience. I know I have feelings about it, but what's my goal? What's my top line thing I'm aiming for? Is to support and love her. Okay, so then let's talk about what happened, see what that looked like. Again, not saying I'm not mad or upset or whatever, but to me, betrayal is something you need to deal with by yourself. Like hurt and cheating, that's something you need to deal with by yourself. That other person is free. 100%. My goal is to support and love. So this person can do what this person wants to do. Again, I'm not saying I won't have feelings that accompany it. But like Joyce Meyer said, when my feelings are coming in, I do not subscribe to or believe the idea that I possess this lady in any way. That's made up to me.
I also think it goes to what you said about understanding and knowing the person, right? Or like what you were saying with intentionality. He knows me enough to know my intentionality. Anyone who knows me knows I'm not trying to hurt anybody. That's where trust is different, though, because you have to know the person. Some people try to hurt people with their actions. Like he said, is that how he felt the first time we were married, like the first year of our marriage? No, we've been married 19 years.
And I'm being real about that,
now
too.
He gets to the point of feeling that. But I think it's also because for 19 years you've seen I'm ride or die for you. So like that's the challenge where like that's what I was kind of saying earlier, where with kids they don't know, because you can't fully trust until you have certain experiences. We've been through enough experiences together where we know we're going to be there no matter what. That's not going to necessarily be everybody's experience. So some of what you're saying for trust is fear-based. I'm going to be scared of new experiences. That's going to make me not trust them necessarily. But the more experiences you have, the more trust you have, because you say, I've been through all these various experiences and we've gotten through them. But I think it goes to what you were saying with the betrayal. That's a label where I feel like both of us sort of will challenge it in the sense that it means that you should treat me a certain way. And that's not true.
Yeah, exactly.
I would like you to treat me a certain way,
for sure,
yes.
For sure.
But should you treat me a certain way? That's a myth.
Made up.
It's made up. I think you should, but that's my identity. That's my thought process. That's my belief system.
Yeah, you want me to.
You could feel differently.
Yeah, yeah.
But aren't you guys having that? So that brings up a good point, because aren't you guys, or shouldn't we be assessing that, whether we're on the same page with our desires before we
But which day? Like the weather. Which day? Which day will we be on the same page? Monday? Then we check back in Tuesday afternoon. Then Wednesday afternoon we check back in. Like sexual desires, our interaction with the outside world is like the weather. It's up and down. There's so many days you could go outside, you not have any thought about anybody else. Certain days you might have not liked what the scale said that day. So now you're a little bit more insecure and a little bit more open to compliments and social interactions from the opposite sex, maybe. So these things go up and down, up and down. That's feelings and emotion, up and down. But like my bond with her is I'm bonded with something inside of her that doesn't fluctuate. And maybe her too to me. Like this is a human being who to me I love. This is a human being who's struggling, having fluctuating emotions, fluctuating sexual desires. Everything's up and down. So when I'm signing up more for the variety than I'm signing up for any hard and fast agreement and assessment that we do. I'm signing up for the randomness.
Okay.
But I think that's also something we agree on, because I mean, similar for our kids, if no matter what my kids do, I'm going to be there for my kids. I love them no matter what.
Yeah.
So your love for people doesn't often change, your boundaries with them might, right?
Hey.
So that's the challenge too.
Hey.
When people feel betrayed, they shift their boundaries.
Yeah.
You did something that hurt me. I'm no longer going to communicate with you in a certain way.
Yeah.
That's allowed. You can feel that way. But that person could also change. So it's up to each person to kind of decide what their personal boundary is. I think that's what makes, in specific when we talk about marriage or coupling, hard, because we have more hard and fast rules for couples than we do for any other scenario.
Oh, yeah. Fucking
Families
right.
betray you, parents betray you, kids betray you, your coworkers and your job betrays you, and we keep going with them. But in partnership or in romantic relationships, when someone betrays us, we're like, I'm done. I'm not going to take that.
Forever.
I've had companies I've worked with that didn't pay me. I've had friends betray me or whatever. And it's like, we consider that, even what you said, Tisa, regarding family, I could tell people most of my childhood what happened to me, and they would be, oh, that's your mom. So it's okay that she's still sleeping with the man that molested me and abused me and suffocated me? Like, that's okay? But in their mind, well, it's your mom. Well, how come no one says that if it's your partner? Well, that's your partner. No one says that. There's a different expectation on partnership in that sense than there is on any other relationship in life, and that's partly why I think divorce is so high, because you can't be perfect. If that's my expectation, it's not going to succeed.
I don't
Because
think
it doesn't give grace for people to grow.
I don't think people sign up for the randomness. To be honest, I think people sign up for something much more known, much more like. Do you agree with me? Like, do we got the same religion? Okay, cool. Do we both want the same kids? Okay. Do we both want to live in the same community? Okay. Do we what? Like, it's like, make everything the most similar as possible as to not have any strife. That's like going to a gym. It's like going to a gym and they say all we got is 5-pound weights. You know why? Because we care about our customers. We don't want them to struggle in here. We don't want stuff to be too heavy in this gym. You know what I'm saying? We just want y'all to come and have a good time. That's the worst gym on the planet. I would never go to that shit because I'm trying to go to the gym that got more weight than I can deal with so that I know I got room to lift up into that motherfucker. So in a relationship, though, somehow we looking for 5-pound weights. That's it.
No, I do think that's true. And I think that's my struggle doing couples therapy is there's this expectation that there will be no hurt or there will be no pain or there will be no betrayal. And
oh, shoot.
That's
look what
never
this
the case.
Stronger with love and melanin. Love the name. And that's what I'm saying right there, too. We sign up for that safe illusion. To me, what I'm saying, I think that's the truth right there, that there's a myth we sign up for more than the real shit, right? Which is why they talk about the honeymoon period and then this and that. But the relationship to me, the relationship with her has been most valuable to me as a human, the more difficult it has been to connect with her. Of course, I love the connecting times, and thank God they do come back semi-frequently. But we've gone through stretches where they have been almost non-existent, those connection moments. But that strife and the pain it caused in me and the pain it caused in her, that's them real weights, man. That's them real weights.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because my best friend sent me a post that she said was you earlier in the week, and she was saying it's basically like a story on Instagram where they're like, this grandfather says that throughout his marriage, they've been married like 50 years, and he's like, my wife was like 8 different people. And I just loved her through all those 8 different personalities, which is why we were able to make it. But that's the challenge for people. You're going to have, like you always said, like, I don't want to be the same person in 5 to 10 years that I am today. That means I didn't grow. But that means that's going to challenge you because I'm not today who I am going to be tomorrow, which means you also have to change. You also have to grow, and then we have to grow in some kind of conjunction with each other, but that's not always going to be exactly parallel and exactly the same. We're not going to always feel emotionally connected or on the same page.
Fucking right.
I think that's what people are looking for. That's not going to happen all the time. But when it doesn't happen, that's also what develops the skills that you get to make it happen more often. How can I know that we're not on the same page until we're not on the same page? And then once we're not on the same page, we have no choice but to communicate. Well, hopefully you talk about it. Okay, well, this is what I felt. This is what you felt. So now how do we navigate that? We can't even navigate something that never occurred. The problem is what reveals to us the work that we need to do. And then that work has to be mutually decided upon. That's the challenge. We both have to agree to do the work. But every challenge is an opportunity to do that work. And that's what develops the skills in you for the next level. But
matter of fact, I'll bring it back to trust too. Like trust, like if you talk about trust, I don't trust her because I have no idea what she might be doing or thinking. What I do trust is that I don't trust her. That's the thing I trust. I don't trust her, but what I also do trust is not about her behavior, but as a human being, she is a person who has struggles and is trying to get to her peace. This, and I don't even know you that well, Tisa, but I trust that about you. I trust that you are a human being trying to get to your peace. I trust Kim Go Fitness is the same thing. I don't need to know y'all to know that. And so for me, if I trust that you're trying to get to your peace, I can be ensured that whatever actions you take, no matter how hurtful they are to me, they serve the purpose of you trying to get to your peace. I can trust that process and not necessarily love how I feel during it.
And that's where it's our work to manage our feelings and our thoughts. Like you said, our feelings are not factual, so I have to challenge them. Every thought that I have, every feeling that I have to challenge it.
Fucking right.
Which is the hardest part of being a parent, the hardest part of being in a relationship, in any kind of relationship. I have to take in what you did, but that doesn't mean I can react. I then have to decide for myself. Yes, I feel a certain type of way. Is that true? Is that factual? Is that the action that I want to act on? That's the challenge for people, because that, like you said, that's separating from that pain. Well, the pain is hard, and that's the lens we look through. So all we see is the pain you've caused me. You've done this, which makes me feel like I was betrayed. But like even what you were saying, when we look at our parents, I felt betrayed by my parents almost all my life. All my life.
Every day.
When I get okay, it doesn't make it okay. Trust does not equal a guarantee.
Well, what's the point of it then? Because marriages end off, I don't trust you no more. So if the guarantee is not there, why would you end a marriage off it?
It's not that
people do that.
No, they do. But that's why I was saying I think that the person has the ability to define what trust is and what they're trusting in and what they're trusting for, right?
Okay. Okay.
I think that's the key. What are we trusting in?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
I said that's the part. That's the key to me, is what are we trusting in, right? I agree with that. Like, am I trusting in you? No. In you in the moment? No. Am I trusting in something beyond that? Maybe. And I think, like you said, what are we trusting in? If it's in the person to always be right, we're going to always be disappointed.
To never cheat, to never flirt, to never hurt us, to never reject us.
I think that's an unrealistic expectation. But if find me a person that actually has an expectation like that of people, and I guarantee you they don't trust themselves, because that's a rejection. It is unrealistic.
Yes.
It is, but it's
true, right?
I'm
glad you said that. Yeah.
So true.
No, go ahead. I'm glad you said that.
It's unrealistic, right? That's why I said trust starts with self, right? Trust does not equate perfection. It does not create absent making bad decisions, right? It's that I know who I am, even if that changes, right? I have the ability to figure out who I am, right?
Yeah, I like that.
I have the ability to make decisions, right? I have the ability and capacity to make decisions that I feel like are in the best interest of me at the time I'm making them.
Amen. Yeah.
That it's okay for me to make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
It is okay to make that I'm going to make mistakes, and regardless of me making mistakes, and even if the decision that I make turns out to be the wrong decision, or it doesn't work out in the way that I think it will, it still is going to be okay.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree with that.
Dope topic though, because it's most of our realities.
It is.
Yeah.
It is, like, you know what I mean? So me, for transparency, because that's who I am, like 19 years old, being infatuated with somebody that I thought, you think you're in love with somebody and all that, and because people, teach you that relationship is like a coloring book. Whatever you color in is how it's going to be, and the picture is going to be the picture because you design it. And think about all the goals that we have written down and the relationships we thought would work for us that didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
We had chemistry, we had stuff in common. So being infatuated, right? At 19 years old, being fully transparent, because my expectations, it's not even so much hurt. It's what you expect in return. People say I love for free. No, you don't, because even if I buy roses and candy, you want a letter, and I don't give you that letter because maybe that wasn't wasn't my love language or what I was taught. We really love people for the way they want us to love us back. So 19 years old being infatuated, right, bro? And my infatuation, my expectation was disappointed. I didn't be faithful to a woman till I was about 37 years old.
Wow.
All because no
Respect.
matter what they done for me, no matter how they treated me, that nightmare started to drown out my dreams. And I think men need to be careful when they go around always talking about.
Wait. What's the nightmare? What's the nightmare?
The nightmare was my experience.
Meaning what?
So being let down by somebody I expected something from. So
now
now
decided you were gonna never get let down again.
And it's honestly, I'm writing a book now on this to tell men it's okay to be vulnerable, because I can think about all the drama that I created but blame somebody else for it, because all I was saying is you don't know what I've been through. So now she had to be left with a broken home. Even though I take care of my kids financially, she had to be left with a broken home. She had to be left with a broken home. And now what happens is they're comfortable in situations, and even when great guys come along, and I'm speaking on my personal, having my kid's mom, when the great guys come along, it isn't that they didn't get over me, they didn't get over what happened. And when they see your children, they get to look at them and say, man, I don't want to make that mistake again. So even if I want a kid, I'm 20 years later, you talking about I'm waiting on God and I'm praying for Boaz. Nah, really what you're waiting on is for God to give you what he already had for you, because I wasn't it. Because if I was it, guess what I would? And I'm so real like that. Our kids, mom, I'm so real like that. And once I start talking accountability as a man, people don't agree with this, though. It's always our fault. Because she's going to be
it's always the man's fault?
Yeah, because she's going to be
saying in the sense that the people that we are with will be influenced by our behavior, but please don't own the development of another person based on your actions. It's not what we make her. They're made already. We meet made people. We develop together. So that's the only thing I would say. You sound crazy like when you say we make her. You got to let them be made. You feel me?
But what I'm saying is collective, though. It's two parts. And it's the same, because if we're one, if she has my rib and I have her rib, she has something I need to help shape me. And I ain't saying make my decisions, but help develop me to be better. So if I got her rib and she got my rib, that's what I'm saying. I make her, she make me. If we're open to allow each other to pull from, I ain't take crazy personal. I like you, though. I like it you talk like that, though. I like you real. Trust me, I didn't take that personal, bro. I like that. I just like, oh yeah, this nigga crazy. I like that, though. Yeah. You just became the homie that quick. I was like, oh, this nigga shout out. I like it.
I love it.
I'm from the hood, bro, so that's why I respond to that type of stuff. You know what I mean?
All right. I'm not from the hood, but I like hood energy.
I think. Yeah.
No, I like what you said, because I do think that is. You know what, though? I think what you guys just showed is exactly what makes relationships hard. We interpret it, right? We have our filter. So you said made, and that's a trigger for people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like I jump back. Back.
But that's why I love the dynamic. You have to be able to say, okay, what did you mean by that? What did I mean by that? And then when you clarify, we're on the same page.
I felt what you mean as soon as you explained it. Yeah, I felt what he was saying.
But that also takes maturity, right? Like he wasn't offended because he is also stepping back and saying, that's not your intention necessarily. What did he mean behind that?
Yeah.
All of that takes
that's powerful. You know what I wasn't offended by? Because even though I'm through a camera, I feel his energy and he's genuine. When he said what he said, it showed me that he was a man. It showed me that he wasn't going to apologize for how he feels and who he is, but he was going to be open to hear my point. Because he said, yo, that's crazy, bro. What he was saying is, bro, make it make sense to me. That's all he was saying. I heard him.
Hey, exactly, man.
But I love that you said that, because men and women often speak different languages, and we do need that translation to read between the lines. What did you mean by that? You aren't saying I'm crazy. You're saying make it make sense.
Yeah, that's true, man. And that's what I mean. Because, look, if we was in a barber shop, this is no issue. That's the thing. We talk like that in there anyway. That's the
guess
thing.
what? Guess what? Look where I'm at.
The barber shop.
Yeah.
Yo.
That's
But you know,
hilarious. I appreciate your
you know,
transparency because I think that is how we learn and grow. I think that's the main thing is like you said, no one is perfect. We've been married since 19. We made mistakes. That's why I said there's no difference between a single person and a married person. You just learn that lesson through different people, or you learn those lessons through the same person. It's the same.
And what's your name, man?
Kente, that's my full name.
All right, Kente. Hey, nice to meet you. I got to pee so bad, though. I got to pee so bad,
Hey,
Kente, so I got to go.
Listen, I'm about to say, okay, let me say something to you crazy before you go, right?
All right,
Think about this. After all the stuff y'all been through, look at y'all. It shaped y'all and it made y'all. It made y'all smile because it made y'all tears. That's all I'm saying. Get out of here, crazy. Go use the bathroom. Don't use it yourself. I just love what y'all talking about. I think it's beautiful. I really think, not that y'all don't take this serious, promote this because it's beautiful. People need real talk. And the way that we're going to get lasting relationships in a black community when we start telling the truth.
Amen.
And not judging each other for what we did wrong.
Thank you for.
Because, you know what I mean? I got this.
I like what MK said. He said you can paint a picture in your head that's not even reality. That's
Amen. Yeah. Yes.
That's beautifully said.
That's the whole shit right there.
You ain't even got to add to. I love the way he said it.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say to his point, and you're right to that point, MK. Your mind is going to look for evidence to prove itself right. Right? So whatever you believe to be true, right? Your mind is going to try to confirm that. Know that, right? It's the same. So I asked, shout out to the people. So one of the questions I asked was, do you snoop? Right? That was one of the questions that I asked on the trust poll in my stories. And people were honest, and I love honesty. Like
they were.
I'm never gonna judge people.
I love honesty.
I love honesty.
Hey, have you done it? Tisha, you done it?
Oh yeah. Now, will I now? No. Why? Because.
And I think that's the one I was gonna say. Yeah.
So one, if I'm not gonna be with anybody that there's not a basic level of trust, right?
Oh, you're back on the bullshit. Listen,
you believe that it's bullshit. I don't believe trust is bullshit, right? Trust is very important to me. Now, I'm not saying that I trust the person not to there's a certain level. We have an agreement on what I'm trusting him for, right? We have talked about it. We have an agreement, right? There's a certain level of trust that exists between us. I'm not going to be with somebody who there's a certain level of trust that doesn't exist. But even if he chooses to do what he wants to do, that's his choice, right? Like he's going, regardless of me, a person's going to do what they want to do. And time will always reveal what it is that I need to know, right? I don't need to snoop for anything. What I need to know will be revealed to me. And a person's going to be and do what they desire and want to do regardless of me. And also, I know that my mind is going to look for evidence to prove itself right. So if I'm snooping, that means I already have a basic level of distrust or thought that he's doing something that he shouldn't need to do. So I'm most definitely going to find something and read into it and think it's something, which it sometimes may not be what I think it's going to be, right? Because my mind is looking for evidence to prove itself right. So I could be stupid and find something and then totally be wrong.
I can attest to that because even for your poll, I said no because, like you said, I don't now. But what you said, I have learned the hard way. Even what you were saying, I personally believe if you snoop, you will find something. Meaning, did I find him to girl? No, I found him talking to his friend, and he said something to his friend I ain't like, and now I'm pissed about that. It ain't even had to do with what I was looking for. I'm over here mad that you said this to your friend. It ain't had nothing to do with what I was looking for. Now we got a different fight. It was never what I thought, but I got something that I'm gonna be pissed at, and it's like, why? And that's another thing, like you said, it's control. I want to control what you're saying, what you're doing, or I can be you and recognize that you said I can't control that. He gonna do what he gonna do regardless. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do regardless.
I've been a messy nigga before, and definitely check that phone And you know what's crazy? When I check the phone, I realize in myself, my heart start racing when I pick it up. Like, but when I pick the phone up, my heart start racing. I feel like I'm in a movie. Like I'm really a detective in this motherfucker. Like, I'm looking for anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm looking for anything, and I found stuff. Sometimes I never really spoke on when I found shit. If I'm being honest, like if she finds something, I'm about
Well,
to hear about
don't
that shit
speak
the
on it
next
on
morning.
live.
She
I'm gonna
better,
speak my
hey,
piece.
better fight the next
He can hold
morning.
his in. I'm gonna say everything I got to
But when I
feel.
find mine, hey, look, I hold that shit close and use it a little bit like a weapon or a blanket, depending on how you see it. And that's what I'm saying. I ain't looked on here. I'm not. Hey, look. But to be honest, I'm not ruling out the future because I might get curious. You feel what I'm saying? The thing that keeps me going is like, if I see her behavior change, I'm starting to look for. Can I figure out who pissed her the fuck off? Because like that's the thing.
Listen,
Don't realize
look.
that. Go ahead.
So Stronger with Love and Melanin said the best match isn't even full safety though. That's facts. There is no
That's what he
guarantee.
said. Yeah, that's
Hey, hey, look at Mel. Hey, who said it?
See, Tasha.
Stronger with Love and Melanin.
That's who that is?
Because,
Yeah.
because you
You
still
didn't know that?
only
Hey, Tasha, I know who that is. Hey, no wonder I agree with this person because this person's fantastic.
because you still
It-
only do a certain level of healing when you meet your partner. Listen, I just learned that a couple years ago, right? I learned that so I had been intentionally single when I got serious about my healing journey, right? I was like, I'm not going to be in a relationship, and I was intentionally single for a long time. And I
That's
had the
important too.
perception that I was healed because I had done healing work, right? And I was ready to enter into a relationship. When I started dating again, I very quickly realized, well, actually, my first thought was, dang, I ain't healed. I ain't worked through that. Oh, dang, I still got work to do. But it was almost in a negative sense, like in a judgmental way,
In a
right?
judgmental.
But I had to learn, right? I had to learn that healing is a journey, right? And in relationship, there is no bigger trigger than being in a relationship, right? Regardless of
Thank you.
how long I've been
Yes,
on my
yeah.
healing journey, relationships are made to be mirrors. They're made to grow me. They're made to stretch me, and I'm going to be triggered, right? It's learning that my healing came into play when I realized, oh, I'm not responding to this trigger in the same way, or it doesn't have the same effect on me, or I'm not projecting, or even being aware when I am projecting and stopping myself and being like, wait a minute, I'm projecting. My bad, I'm sorry, right? So I had to change my perception around what healing looked like, and then what I expected out of my relationships, or the type of relationship I expected, or the experience I expected to have in the relationship. Yeah. Tasha,
I'm trying to
right?
I'm trying to understand something real quick, right? Because I've been married since before I knew what the fuck that meant, to be honest, right? And like I
Right.
grew into it, you know. Like for me, I think maybe because of my dad's devotion to the kids and shit, that maybe like I have that heavy. You know, my kids, the family unit to me is my bigger purpose. It's bigger
Right.
than our marriage. Our marriage is great. You know, our marriage serves the two of us, and that's wonderful in whatever the fucking way that happens. But the family unit thing to me is huge, you know, and I've been under that programming and that influence since I've been a child. Now I'm gonna ask you though, Tisa, as a woman who still likes to do the thing and be a
What? Everyone likes to do the thing. Why you put her on blast?
wait, guys.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying,
Wait.
why is she the one? You like to do it. Everyone.
Okay, guys. What I'm saying is, in your singleness, what I'm asking is like,
That's different.
all right, like when we're choosing our partners and we're using all this intentionality that was used on ourselves. I'm trying to get an understanding from you guys, like. Number one, like, I can't imagine finding a woman now who would match, like, my energy. Like, I can't imagine.
That's why I'm single, cuz. Listen.
Bothering me.
This is
All
my
right.
truth. This is my truth. And it is what it is. I am well aware now that I am at a point in my journey, my healing journey, my evolution journey, that a lot of people haven't, a lot of men haven't come to.
Haven't got.
But listen, I'm not even saying I'm not okay with that, right? I'm not saying I mean, hold on. I'm not saying that a man has to be at that level. I'm not saying he has to be at my level of awareness and at my level of healing. He has to be committed, right? I'm asking for the commitment to himself, right?
To do the work. Yeah.
To do the work, right? The commitment to be self-aware, the commitment to unpack, right? That's what I'm looking for, because all of that, I know that all of that level, that evolution, right, will come in time if he's committed to doing the work, if he's committed to being uncomfortable, if he's looking for, is his idea of a relationship the same as mine? Meaning, is he looking for is his expectation of a relationship comfortability, right? Is he looking that we will never argue, never have disagreements? And if there are disagreements, and if there are issues, right? Is that an indication to him that we're not a match and that he should run? If it is, then he's not the man for me, because he's not ready to go.
So let me ask you then, how difficult is it? And this is a real question, like the niggas I know, my boys, you feel what I'm saying? Like, they're not gonna be saying, hey, I'm insecure. Hey, when you challenge me, I feel inadequate. They're not going to say these things. Not right away. It took me so fucking long to get there, right? So, out the gate, we got niggas not ready. So they're like, what's the minimum level of commitment? Like, how can we find this out?
That's actually a good question.
You feel what I mean?
You're
like
asking, like, what do you need to see that
the
shows you the effort?
There's a level as women who are evolved. You, Tisa, Melanin. How do we decide this nigga is either like, okay, he ain't developed, but he's willing? How are we defining that level for these niggas? You know what I mean?
First of all, it takes time, right? So what I know for myself is, Tisa, don't try to jump into no relationship with somebody a month after meeting them, because
thank you,
ma'am. And that's what I ain't gonna lie. First of all, I'm not saving this live, okay? I'm just letting you know. So
I don't blame you.
No, you gotta save it. You gotta.
But what's true is, my history has been, I'm a passionate person, right? I'm a passionate person, and I feel. So when I like you and when I'm on you and I like you, and I like to move at lightning speed. That's my damn problem. Well, one of them. But so what I know to be true is that it takes time, right? It takes time, and you gotta pay attention. You gotta pay attention. For me, I pay attention to how he speaks. How does he speak about his exes? How does he speak about the lessons he learned? How does he speak about himself and the evolution of him as a man? How does he speak about his emotions? Right? And me,
and how does he respond to your emotions?
Right.
Yeah, I've noticed.
Right. How does he hold space for my emotions, right?
Absolutely.
I'm gauging all of that. Because that's something that I'm looking for. And it really isn't that difficult. It really isn't that difficult to figure out. You just got to pay attention and ask the right questions. And I'm a good